James Hill presents Creator's Corner.
Yeah, I said it and I meant it.
They saw the power, so they put us in chains. Now they're killing us. Slavery and jail is the same thing. The Panthers tried to show us our ancestors born of queens. Thought they'd smite the dream, sniping Dr. King. Thought they'd cast a hex, sniping Malcolm X. Taught us a religion where we aren't with the called and blessed. Make you think that Africa is close to death. Protect your neck, Black Supreme. To live afraid is inferior. Traded your shackles for a dream. Don't die a victim of America. Black Supreme.
Welcome on another episode of Creator's Corner. I'm your host, James Dale, and with me is Mr. T. Montgomery. How you doing today?
I'm in a good space.
That's
How you
good.
doing?
It's awesome. You're in a good space because it's home, or are you in a good space in general?
Both.
Okay.
Being home is definitely a good and comforting space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to have the opportunity to be home more now that I'm working from home a little more. And then just in general, with where I am career-wise, with my endeavors, with what I'm excited about, just in a good space overall, and I'm grateful for that.
Okay. We all have to be grateful for something, and once a man or a woman has purpose, you wake up every day with a proverbial smile on your face. You wake up every day driven. You wake up every day grateful, and you wake up every day at peace.
Truth indeed.
Because nothing matters outside of your journey, outside of your purpose. And once you meet your goals and set your goals, you try to reinvent yourself and do something else so you can have further goals, so you can be motivated to do other things.
Right.
You know, that's why I like doing Creator's Corner, because I get the opportunity to interview and be in the same space as people who are driven, who are positive, and I want that to resonate with the audience out there. And all you have to do is spark the mind of one person,
Right.
and that will make a snowball effect to spread positivity. You know, positivity should be commerce. Positivity should be something that is sold in the malls, man. You should go to the positivity store and re-up on the positivity. You know what I mean? Because if people in the world were positive, there would be no conflict. People would sit down and try to resolve what issues they have, and they will have no hang-ups in the world. So tell me a little bit about your background and what makes T. Montgomery T. Montgomery.
It's always the most difficult question.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in New Haven.
Okay.
I grew up in a household where I can really explore and experiment and really try any and everything. I grew up playing sports, doing art, making music. I'm an overall creative. My first art is creative writing and poetry.
Okay.
And then my dad taught me how to rap. And then I got to a point where I started putting poetry over music, and then creating music that way. I played instruments, I paint, I sculpt, I cook.
Okay.
Really, anything that takes an idea and bringing it to fruition, that's really what my thing is.
Mm-hmm.
The baseline in everything that I do is to inspire, empower, save souls, and help people find God within. And that's my overlaying message. That's the energy that I put forth. That's really what the goal is, again, in everything that I do. And I do that in creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my focus has been creating wearable art, curating experiences, and then also providing a platform and resources for creative entrepreneurs like myself. And that's really what I'm passionate about right now. So as far as the wearable art, creating clothing and accessories for universal bodies. It used to be a dream, a recent dream, because I didn't grow up wanting to be a designer.
Okay.
I'll say about 8 years ago, I started teaching myself to sew.
Okay.
There's a few different paths that brought me there. So one is I tried the traditional route, going to college. I got my bachelor's degree, I got my master's, tried to climb the corporate ladder. I was unfulfilled, I was stressed out. It was never enough money, no matter how much I climbed, no matter how much I worked. And it wasn't fulfilling. So that was one motivator. I've never been into the industry of fashion, but I've always had my own sense of style. But whenever I did need to shop, I couldn't find anything in my size or anything that inspired me. So that was another motivator to teach myself. I realized that people pay you for what they know you for. And so from asking people, some of the most prominent answers were my sense of style, were my events, and then inspiring people. And so I put thought into how I can monetize that. And then also just diving deeper into my art, wanting to take on a new form of, or a new medium of artistry, wanting to be more of myself. And again, that was another motivator. So all of those paths brought me to a point where I had an interest in teaching myself to sew. And my little cousin had this little small home sewing machine that she never used and just gave it to me. And so...
You still have that?
No, actually. I donated it. All right, so it went to a good place.
Okay.
It did go to a good place.
Okay.
So I was teaching the fashion class at Cooperative Arts, an arts high school in New Haven. And so I donated the machine to that class because we needed more machines.
That's good. That's good.
So yeah, it went to a really good place. But the capacity of where I'm at now, that machine can't handle anyway.
I mean, in terms of having that be your first thing that made a garment, if you could frame it somewhere,
right? Put it in a box and
and just say,
like
that was my
trophy.
first one because I started a juice company with a business partner, a co-worker of mine, and the first blender that I used to make the first batch of juices, I still have it, and I'm going to frame it. You know, once all of the juices go into manufacturing, I'm going to frame that and put it on like Uncle Scrooge and
his first dollar
in DuckTales. You know, he had this #1 dime. That's what I'm going to do with the blender. That's why I asked if you.
I hadn't thought about it like that before, but that.
But what you did to it is a lot better because the energy that you put into it is going to go into somebody else as a transfer of positivity. That's what your first statement was. But what you want to do, what your purpose is to transform positivity and God in other people.
Yeah, exactly.
So you did that without even knowing that you did that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you fulfilling that order. That's good.
Yeah, it still is in alignment for sure. So keeping that in mind, I actually bought my first machine. So the whole journey from me starting up until maybe last year, I'll say. Yeah, wow. Everything was given to me. And that's one of the things that made this journey make sense and made it so easy because it was so organic. So when I started talking about it, telling people I'm, making my own clothes, it was believable. No one doubted me. And I had high interest, again, because I already had my own sense of style. It was one of the things that people knew me for. And so from talking about it, people were excited about what I would come up with. So that was another thing that helped it to grow organically. But yeah, so every machine up until about last year was donated to me. My uncle, he's actually a really dope photographer, Jonathan Bailey. His mother was a seamstress and had a lot of equipment, fabric, notions and things like that. And he pretty much gave me like a whole setup to start with. A good sewing machine, a serger, and then again all the notions and things like that. I still have some of that fabric that he donated to me. But yeah, last year I actually bought my first machine, and it was a high-end industrial machine. So maybe that'll be the one that I end up framing.
Okay.
Like,
Okay, put that in the
all that to
museum.
say that.
Put that in the museum, the T. Montgomery experience. You know, I like that notion. So you mentioned that you your first love of creativity was creative writing. What prompted you to start writing?
That's a good question. I'll say my parents definitely had a heavy influence. My parents are both artists, so I'm an art baby.
Okay.
And so anything to do with art was very realistic just in my inner core and dynamics and the way we were raised and what was going on in the house. Parents always had a project or something going on. There's always music being played or made, painting, just all of that stuff. But as far as writing, my dad had always been a writer, so I'm sure that was some influence to it. And then in my elementary school, we did a lot of writing. And I can't say there was one particular teacher. I think it was really just something that I was always good at, maybe because I read a lot, maybe because I had always had great vocabulary, maybe my imagination. I never really thought about what started me in creative writing. That's a good question that I need to explore. But it's just always been a part of who I am.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I guess the poetry definitely likely came from my dad.
Okay. So your dad is a famous poet?
So my dad actually had two groups coming out of New Haven. So one was Colorblind, another one was Native Bastards. And so through Native Bastards, they actually got a lot of traction and they're touring. They opened up for Biggie, Eminem, Redman, Method Man, what was it? Was it Hot 93 or another radio station? They used to do this big concert out in Hartford every year.
Yeah, Hot 93.7.
In the 90s.
Yep, Hot 93.7.
They did a lot of those. So yeah, they definitely, started getting there.
Okay.
And there are people who know who they are still to this day. To answer that question.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So recording, do you just have stuff that you perform, or have you recorded some of your pieces that is available on like Spotify and other
Yes,
platforms?
I do have music on all the streams. When I first started recording, I had a group with my dad and my uncle. It's called Three Disciples.
Okay.
It's holy hip hop. And we were really pioneers in that. It was before it was ever a thing. Remember, we were getting like kicked out of spaces and looked down upon in churches for doing holy hip hop because they didn't understand it yet.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of
that's
like
how early
Whitney
on.
Houston and all of those other Patti LaBelle. They were in the church, Luther Vandross, and they were doing secular music, and that's a faux pas. You're supposed to be doing secular music when it's coming to the word, But if you look at the story of Jesus Christ's disciples were all misfits.
Yep.
They weren't the top echelon of society. They were the people in the dregs of society, and that's who you want to follow God. That's who you want to be in the path and the calling, because there's a lot more disenfranchised people than there are franchised people,
right.
Affluent people, So once you get people who are lost, so for lack of a better term, they can inspire other people to be on the path and be on a positive wavelength and wouldn't be a certain thing called poverty. You know, you wouldn't be impoverished because you will be fulfilled within your faith, within yourself, within your soul. Because monetary gain is not important. You know, once you have God, once you have a purpose, once you have salvation, that's what it is all about.
Yep.
You know?
And so what I realized early on is that my ministry was always for the streets, not necessarily inside the church building. Like my ministry was to get people to the church, not necessarily
Get the church to the people.
right. And so yeah, we did a lot of street ministry, setting up on the corners, performing and saving people right on the streets.
That's good.
We actually, you ever heard of McDonald's Gospel Fest?
No, I'm not really from Connecticut.
Okay,
So a
okay.
lot of the stuff in Connecticut, whether it's back in the day or something, I'm not really privy to it.
Okay.
So forgive me.
No, it's all right.
From the Bronx.
All right, word. Yeah, we did a lot out there too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I don't know if it was only a Connecticut thing, but this one was definitely in Connecticut in Stamford. McDonald's Gospel Fest, they had a contest every year where gospel artists would come and compete. And the year we did it, we won. So that was pretty dope. But yeah, so Three Disciples with my dad and my uncle was Holy Hip Hop. The album is Infiltration. You can actually find that on all the streams to this day.
That's good.
And then my music, as I got older, I put out an album called the Montgomery Tea Party. So if you search T Montgomery, it should come up. And then my more recent music over the last couple of years will come up too. I have a song called Black Supreme and a song called Pay Me that speaks more of the message of where I'm at now. So empowerment, inspiration, finding God within, being the best, highest versions of ourselves, things like that. So yeah, search T Montgomery, T like the drink, on all the streams. Or you can go to my social media, to my website. You can pretty much find it everywhere. So what I'm doing, actually, so music brought me to, is another path of bringing me to doing the wearable art. So it got to a point where I realized I was spending more money making the music than I was making from the music. And I realized that performing artists don't get paid as much from the music itself as from everything around the music. So from touring, from appearances, and merchandise. Merchandise is one of the biggest ones. And so thinking about merchandise, started getting a logo printed on crew necks and t-shirts. And as an artist, I didn't feel like it was enough of me. And I didn't have enough control over it because we were went to a website, uploaded our logo, and that was that. It really, that was it. And so that was another heavy motivator in me thinking about creating my own merchandise. And then saying, you turn the shirt inside out, looking at the seams. And I say I have an engineer's mind. And I think that lines up with bringing an idea, taking an idea and bringing it to fruition. Anyway, turning the shirt inside out, I looked at it, I was like, I could do this. And so yeah, that's how I started. The first thing I actually made, I took an old dress shirt, that little machine I told you about, my cousin gave me. I sat on the floor in the attic. I ripped apart the dress shirt at the seams. I traced it on new fabric, cut it out, and then put the new fabric together the same way I took the dress shirt apart. And then that was the first piece that I made. That I do still have.
That's good. That's good.
I do still
That
have
story
that.
reminds me of the P.A. Cardan episode in the Cosby Show.
Word.
Yeah, you know, with Vanessa, and she had the lopsided shirt and she stole the money.
There's somebody who just wore that shirt. Some celebrity just had it, and people didn't understand where it was from.
Man, pop culture.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool story.
Yeah, it is, man. Your story is even better story because it's live and in action. You know, you living your truth, and that is something that is amazing, and that is what I want to inspire people to do is to be free and live your story because everybody's story is unique, and just because you have a path and you're not successful today, you're not getting from it monetarily, doesn't mean that you're not somebody. Doesn't mean that what you're doing is not important. Doesn't mean that your purpose is not making an impact on somebody else. Because all you have to do is spark one mind, and that one mind is going to do other things. Like you said, your parents were artists.
Mm-hmm.
If your parents weren't artists, you probably would have been an engineer or a doctor or went in corporate America. That wouldn't have been a path that you would have foreseen yourself to do. So that inspired you to be who you are today.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Each one teach one. Inspire one to reach one, so each one could teach one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And
if I can add to that, you can start something new anytime. You can always teach yourself something new. You can start a whole new career or a whole new life. I didn't start teaching myself to sew. I was, I think, either 30 or 31. And I had already, again, gone to school. I already tried the corporate ladder and all that, and basically started over in my 30s. So, and I know people who started new things in their 60s. So really saying all that to say, don't limit yourself and don't doubt yourself. And you really can do anything you put your mind to. And it's that simple.
The mind is a terrible thing to waste, man.
Yeah,
Going back to those commercials back in the 80s and the 90s. And to talk about faith, because we are talking about faith, and what you do is faith-based. Jesus didn't become Jesus that we know of today until his 30s. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then before then, he was shunned in society because he was a forward thinker and he didn't follow the fray. He was the black sheep, pun intended. And we still talking, it's almost 2025, and his movement, his walk, and his purpose, we're still talking about that to this day, and we're going to continue to talk about that. And we strive to be Christ-like. We strive to live in our truth, and I inspire you to do the same. Since you are faith-based, your music is faith-based, your poetry is faith-based, is your clothing have some kind of element of your belief system in it, whether it's symbolism or something?
It's the energy.
Okay.
So again, with the baseline of my mission to inspire, empower, and save souls, the energy that I put into it. When I make you a piece, I want you to feel like the best, highest, favorite version of yourself. So that when you go into the jungle, whatever jungle that you operate in, corporate jungle, the art jungle, entrepreneur jungle, spiritual jungle, whatever that is, you feel equipped to be your best and favorite self. And so yes, the answer to that is literally the energy that I put into each stitch. It's the way I put my patterns together. It's the fabric that I choose. Comfort is a pillar in everything that I make. So there's nothing that I make that is uncomfortable. Okay. Even the dress clothes feel like, kind of like you have nothing on, or like wearing a sweatsuit or something. You ever wear some uncomfortable underwear?
Yes.
And it just kind of mess up your whole day?
Yes. Gotta take them off.
Take them off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that'll mess up your game. That'll change how you feel about yourself. You won't be as confident. You won't be as forward or direct. You'll tuck yourself in or stay in the background. You won't be living in your power if you're not comfortable. And so I make my pieces with that intention so that you can live in your power. Okay. And that's my ministry right now.
Man, I love it. I love it. As you, I am a creative writer, independent published? And that's a question I want to pose for you as well. And to write and to get stories out of your head is the best feeling in the world. And the better feeling is to get the feedback from somebody who read one of your pieces or experienced one of your performances and it resonated with them, and they give you that look before they even say anything, and you already know what they're going to say, you know what I mean? And that's transformative for you as the artist, as the creative, and to see that you are aligning with someone is great. So I'm posing the same question to you. Are you independently published and are a recording artist, or you are behind the traditional big corporation?
I am independent, always been, and will likely stay that way in one form or another.
Okay.
If I were to take some type of deal, it would be distribution, I'd say, especially having a certain understanding of the industry and how to operate it. My master's is actually in entertainment business management, so I learned a lot about that and how to navigate. And now, I'm not exactly in that industry anymore, but I'm able to take that knowledge and apply it to building my brand as I'm doing now. And so, as an overall creative, what I've done and what I'm doing is building a foundation. And so I'm using Threads by Tea, the wearable art, as the foundation that I can now put the music on top of, the cinematography, the painting, or whatever else that I want to add. And I started doing that last year, actually. This is a segue. Your question is like taking me to
keep going,
give
man.
me more info.
Keep it going. That's what we want.
So last year I launched my first exhibition. It's called Ethos. And Ethos is an introspective view into the traits and characteristics that form who we are, how we present to the world, and where our power lies.
Egos, logos, and pathos.
Yeah, see, you know.
Yeah.
So Pathos is actually what I'm releasing next year. And then you already see the vision. You see the vision.
Yeah.
So Ethos was last year, and I broke it down into 5 collections, and it all tells a story of a journey. So the first collection is the heroes. There are real life heroes, villains, and anti-villains walking the streets every day. And who we are the traits and characteristics that resonate from those archetypes the most. And how that looks as far as the wearable art would be things like capes, bodysuits, functional wear. The second collection is the jungle, which I touched on a little bit earlier. The jungle speaks to the jungle of life. So the urban jungle, the entrepreneur jungle, the corporate jungle, whatever jungle an individual is operating in, there are real life dangers and predators. This is where we learn to adapt. This is where we build on our instincts. This is where we learn what type of power we need in order to survive in this jungle. And then there's also peace and beauty in the jungle as well. And so how that looks would be florals, animal prints, fur, and leather. The third collection is called The Lovers. And The Lovers speaks to our relationships and how everyone, or how we are pieces of everyone in our lives. So family, friends, lovers, and even enemies, and how they affect who we are and what our power is and how we use that power. And so how that looks would be matching and coordinating sets. So if you use what I'm wearing, for example, in the Lovers, it'll be what I have on, and then the coordinating set would be like the opposite. The fourth collection is Clarity. Clarity speaks to that point in life where our experiences, especially the ones that didn't make sense to us in the past, they all start to make sense to us now. So now we have an idea of who we are. We have an idea of our power. We have an idea of how we want to use that power. We have clarity over ourselves. And then the fifth collection is the title, which is Ethos. And ethos is a culmination of all of those collections. And taking it a step back with clarity, the look of clarity is futuristic. It's regal and royal cuts. It's breezy, flowy.
Mm-hmm.
And ethos, again, is a culmination of all of them. And so now we know who we are. We know what our power is. We know how to use this power. We know what we want to bring this world. We know what we want to take from this world. We are at our ethos. And so in my exhibition, the story is shared through different art mediums. So there's the wearable art. There's a 5-song EP that serves as a soundtrack to each collection. I did a 5-course dinner where each course was curated according to the themes of each collection.
Okay.
And then same with, had a mixologist create drinks curated to the collections. There are 5 paintings. And then there's also a cinematic aspect that's still in the works right now. So that's going to be a mini movie. And so that's the example of how building the foundation through wearable art and now putting all of my other art on top of that and really creating just a fully immersive experience in general. Mm-hmm. And now what I'm finding is that the art style or the medium that I'm really enjoying playing with right now is curating teams. So for each event, I contracted people who do what they do, gave them the vision or the story, and they created based on those themes. Mm-hmm. And then also curating experiences. And so there'll be a lot more of that coming over the next year.
Yeah, that's dope, man. There's a lot of layers to it, like an onion, you know. Yeah. And that's what life is, you know. You have to delve in, and everything is about your 5 senses. I'm sure that's how you got the 5 from the different senses in humanity, you know, because you have to use each sense in order to appreciate all sense. You have to be sensible, you know. You mentioned cinematography. Is this going to be your first dabble in cinematography, or do you have films or, you know, shorts or videos that you have done before? And how did you get into making films?
This is going to be my first.
Okay.
Combination of the creative writing, a combination of already being in a very visual business, of being in a sonic business, a musical business, and finding ways to put all of that together and creating a story. It's another new art medium that I'm dabbling in. Well, I won't say dabbling, because it's not being taken lightly.
Yeah, you're just serious. You're doing
it.
Yeah, you're doing it.
That I'm exploring.
Yes, that's a better apropos.
And it really interests me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to learn that I have an eye through the camera. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just I'm really excited about it. So now I am figuring out what that looks like, learning what I need to learn, purchasing the equipment. This camera here is actually, it started as my studio camera because I needed something where I can take pictures of my product and my work without having to hire someone every single time. I make something every day, and having to hire someone for it, that's just a lot.
You got to wait on somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Pricing and everything.
So it started as that, but then when I was researching cameras, I spoke to my uncle and told him my vision, told him that I wanted high quality photos, but also the ability to make high quality video down the line, and something that I can have and not have to upgrade every year, something that's gonna last and all that. Yeah, so he suggested this one, and
it's a DSLR.
It's a mirrorless. It's the Canon R6.
Okay.
And it's been great so far. On my Instagram, I started posting some of the photos from my first few photo shoots that I've been doing, well, test shoots that I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Just working on my angles, on my lighting, things like that. Because lighting is one of the most important things I'm realizing with photography and cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle actually told me, he said like 98% of the shot should be set up before you even take the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that you really shouldn't need any editing if the shot is set up correctly. And so that's the game that I'm learning right now, is how to do that.
While I was in school, went to Full Sail University.
I did. That's where I got my master's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year did you graduate?
2011.
Okay. I just graduated last year. Right. So I watched this video. I forget the cinematographer's name. Forgive me. Put it in the video afterwards once I researched it. And he's a famed cinematographer, and he does shorts. No, he does pictures, realistic pictures. He will go to different towns, and he would scout out the location, and he would hire the people in the town, and he will have them in this $1 million production shot, whether it is on the street, whether it is in a hotel room, whether it is a diner. He would have all this whole big production thing for one shot.
Wow.
And just like you said, your uncle said, everything has to be set up. So the whole documentary was him setting up the location, him scouting the locations, getting the cast members and hiring the grips and everybody who encompasses what needs to be, how everything needs to be for this one shot. And he takes several shots, but he chooses one shot. And just like you said, everything has to be set up, and you don't need to edit out this or that. Sometimes if in the documentary, if there were 2 or 3 shots that he see elements in it, he'll have an editor come in and just combine them together. But for the most part, it'll just be the one shot. And that has to be a vision in your mind first before you even go out to that location, to know what you want exactly in the people, and to see somebody and say, I can see you in this picture, is phenomenal in itself. That's the art form in itself. Yep. And I'll research it, and I'll put it underneath the this segment so everybody will know the person's name. It's beautiful. Art is beautiful once you have that vision to know that what you want, not necessarily everybody is going to see it when you are, thinking about it. But once you have the end result and people experience it, they go, oh, that's what it is. So you mentioned that you went to school for entertainment, administration, or management.
Business management,
right?
Yeah.
Do you have any artists that you manage?
I did.
Okay.
I did. So we created a collective called Dry Rain Media.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2010s, early 2010s. Mm-hmm. And we had, so Dry Rain was, how do I explain it? It was a collective, so we had all types of artists. It was more than just music. So there were music artists, we had models, we had, actually it started with mainly music and models. There were a couple of visual artists, like who did the music covers and stuff for us, like that. Yeah, graphics. And our goal was really to help put people in position and find and foster opportunities for everyone really to flourish. So one artist in that collective was Bless the Child. He now goes by Pay Me in Gold. Another one is See All Hues. And then myself, we were the main 3 musical artists. to start and really get that traction. For 3 or 4 years, we put together a music festival called Rain Fest, where we brought artists from all over, mainly Connecticut artists, but we brought some from Philly, we brought someone from Michigan, we brought someone from LA. But again, just giving artists a platform, and the artists that were dope and really good at what they do, and just trying to help give them some shine. And so yeah, we did things like that. So with building that brand, I was able to learn a lot about artist management and how to navigate certain areas. At that time, we didn't have too many resources or too big of a network that was given to us. And so a lot of that was finding it and learning it and discovering it. And that's really what it was about. Nothing was given to us, so we made our own way. And we got a lot of good traction. And, then life just happened, and that was that. We're all still cool, but just doing our own things. Maybe, I don't know. It'd be nice to
Get back together.
do something again in a way.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking now, especially as I'm thinking more of my career, like outside of my own art, is like a talent agency of sorts. And again, I'm still exploring what that actually looks like. At one point, I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer during that time. That's one reason why I actually chose the entertainment business management program with Full Sail. And from there, I was going to do either intellectual property, or because entertainment law, they didn't have too many programs for that specific thing back then. Now it's more prevalent. So I may go back, get my JD so I can speak that language and end up forming some type of talent agency down the line. We'll see.
That's cool. I know an entertainment lawyer, so if you, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
She's young too. She's like 27, 28. She just graduated.
Nice. Yeah, please.
Shout out Chardonnay Crossdale.
Chardonnay
Esquire.
Crossdale.
Yeah, she went to.
That sounds so familiar.
She went to, I think it was Northwestern. She went to some school out there in the Midwest.
I wonder if I know her. That sounds really familiar.
Never know, man. The 6 degrees of separation. Man.
Yeah.
And everybody knows somebody. So this piece behind me, been killing me to ask you about this piece. Is this something that you created, or
Nope. So
you commissioned it?
Swing is actually my dad.
Okay.
That's his name.
Okay.
And he had this created.
Yeah, I wanted this piece to be in the shot. And I didn't want to touch it. I just know that it had to be in the shot because I just love the colors and the graffiti and the layers in it,
Yeah.
And do you know the artist that did the piece?
I don't. I'm gonna have to ask him.
Okay.
I know artists who do work like this. He actually had it created before I could suggest one. There's a dope artist from New Haven, Dulio. He does graffiti, he paints, and he's a DJ. So if anyone's looking for an artist who does stuff like this, look up Dulio. Really great guy.
Let me know before when I get this all edited and stuff to what artist did this, so I can put his or her name down. So
All right.
give them some love because it's a dope piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so right now, is your clothing your main focus, or do you do your clothing and your poetry and your poetry over music and your cooking and everything else all into one cinematography as of now? Everything moves like a school of fish, or do you have your main focus as?
So wearable art is the main business.
Okay.
And that's what I've been doing the most of. Now I'm at the point where I'm bringing everything else into it. And
so the clothes is making way for everything else.
Right. So created the foundation through the wearable art that I can now build
Right, got you.
the rest of the brand itself on top of. Outside of the art, I am. I've been facilitating entrepreneurship accelerator programs, and more so in the entrepreneur spaces when it comes to business and teaching. So teach on the high school and college level. I also do workshops in elementary schools, and that's more of my community work and professional work. So there's income from that too. But just as far as the arts, to answer the arts question, yeah, so the wearable art are now putting the music and the cinema, photography, visual arts, and all of that into one. Yeah.
It's one big package deal. So when you think of the name T. Montgomery, it's not just one thing, it's multifaceted, which is a great thing.
Yep.
Your pieces, do you just make a whole bunch of pieces based on your vision, or do you mainly make pieces that you were commissioned to make?
I started by commission making one-of-ones, and now I'm at the point of I'm actually putting a pause on the commissions, aside from special cases, and focusing on small batch limited collections and some ready to wear. So now focusing on the accessories like my caps, like my bags, and store placements. And one that's making the brand more accessible, and then it's also making it easier on my part, but it also allows me to scale. So I'm contracting people to help me make things now, so I can teach them how to make the cut of what I have on now. So instead of just one of these, maybe 20 or 30 of them in a range of sizes, I can teach my seamstresses my patterns, and then they can make them, and now we can place them in the stores and things like that. So that's more so my focus now, is store placements and international focus. So next year I actually have some things lined up in Europe and in Africa. I'll have more info on all that to come later. But yeah, so now I have more of an international focus, and in order to do that, I need to be able to scale easier and build my team.
Right.
And so ready to wear accessories and small batch limited collections. So by doing it that way, I can still make my vision, but I don't have to do all the work myself anymore. And that's where we're at now.
That's good. So where can people have find your stuff outside of your website in the stores?
So right now I am in more and more. So in New Haven, I have more and more boutique. I have Noir Vintage. I have Bloom. I had pieces in Neville Wisdom, which I need to restock there. And there's this store in Hartford. Why am I forgetting the name? I apologize. I'll tell you after this.
Okay.
And then I'm in communication with a store actually in World Trade Center. It's called Art to Wear, and they focus on wearable art. So hopefully within the next few weeks I'll have some pieces there. And then there are a couple stores in Philly that I'm communicating with now. And I'm just gonna keep going from there. So if anyone's interested in having my product, or you know some good stores I should look into, please send them my way. Yeah, and then we'll see with the places I'm going next year in Europe and Africa. Part of those trips are to form some relationships and partnerships in order to drop pieces in those boutiques and high-end concept stores as well.
That's great.
So,
man, you out there doing it, man.
yeah,
That's good. From a vision, from a thought, from saying, I want to learn how to do this, to traveling internationally and putting other people on so people could experience your wearable art. And I like the concept and the wording that you use to describe your pieces. And that is the number one thing, because you have a background in business management, so you know the lingo on how to talk up your pieces. So can you tell the audience where they can find you, so if they need to book you or they need to know where you're going next and stuff like that?
So you can find me everywhere. Threads by Tea, T-E-A, like the drink. So threadsbytea.com, Threads by Tea on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, if we still have access to that. Tea at threadsbytea.com if you'd like to reach me directly. But all my contact info will be right on the website, threadsbytea.com. And that's really the easiest way to get me, or Instagram.
Okay. Any words of wisdom before we sign out?
Live in your power. Don't limit yourself. If you think it and believe it, you can do it. And continue the journey of being the best, highest version of yourself.
And on that note, my name is James Dale. This is Creators Corner. And this is Mr. T. Montgomery. See you on the next one.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in.